Next, we headed off to Maryland, to Johns Hopkins University near Baltimore. There, the literal ambition has been to reach out and grasp the future. So this is your bionic arm?
Yes, we call this the modular prosthetic limb, or MPL. This is the most sophisticated arm in the world. It can do virtually everything that your natural limb can do.
Has there ever been an arm quite like it?
Never.
Johnny Matheny from West Virginia lost his left arm to cancer in 2008. The robotic arm works by responding to electrical impulses in the upper arm. So the first job was to revive those nerve endings in his stump.
We take all the electrical signals that are going down to the missing limb and reroute them into residual muscles that are still there. So now when you actually stimulate Johnny on certain areas of his stump, he actually perceives that as us stimulating his missing limb. I believe this is the area for your index finger, is that right?
Only 7 amputees have ever tried this arm. And what's it like?
It's crazy. I mean, to actually be able to work a hand just like you had. I mean, in 2008, when he took the arm, I never figured I'd ever have another actual hand. I'd seen the hooks, and I figured that's exactly what I'd be getting. And then they come out with this, and it's like, wow.
The arm has to be carefully programmed on computer, coded to respond to electrical impulses from Johnny's stump. He thinks about moving his old arm. You can see the impulses on the screen, little waves and squiggles. The computer recognizes each pattern and makes the bionic arm move accordingly. It was time to have a go myself, to slip on a special glove with sensors linked up to the bionic arm. How like my real arm and hand is this?
It can do virtually anything that you can do with your natural hand. Okay, and you can move your wrist, right? It's very fluid.
My goodness, I could wave like the Queen.
That's right. You can think about things like, playing the piano eventually, doing very complex types of things.
You imagine someone with bionic arms playing the piano?
I think we'll get there someday. We're not there yet, but we'll get there.
Do you feel privileged?
Oh yes, very privileged. Very privileged to be able to do this, to show, any upper amputee person, what they'll be able to do, what's coming their way, and it's not going to be, way in the future. The future's coming now.
Our final stop was Pittsburgh, an old American steel town, now reinvented as a center of biotechnology. The research at Pittsburgh University has focused on linking the new bionic arm directly to the brain. This is one of their first patients, Jan Sherman, and you can't help but admire her. She's been a quadriplegic for 12 years or so.
Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm very well.
Because of a rare disease, she can't move anything below her neck. The bionic revolution has given her new hope. It's self-evident that quadriplegics have most to gain.
I've lost a lot of control over my life, over my body. So to be able to control something again and move it, that was amazing. It was power. It was triumph.
In a delicate operation just over a year ago, electrodes were implanted into the top of her skull, into her motor cortex. A pair of grids the size of postage stamps. Inside, several hundred tiny needles, recording electrical activity in her brain. This computer image, a constant wavy flux, records a single neuron or nerve cell. Like all of us, Jan has billions of neurons in her brain. The Pittsburgh scientists have been decoding these signals and using the code to control her remote bionic arm. Wired up, attached by a cord to the computer, and she just has to think about moving the arm, and it does. Is there a difference between implanting sensors into the muscles and operating the arm and wiring directly into the brain.
The arm is a very complex machine. There are a lot of muscles, a lot of joints, everything interacts with everything else. And the math to solving the mechanics is incredibly complicated. Yet, you know, the idea of, well, I just want to reach for a cup, that's pretty straightforward. And that's the kind of thing that we can capture from the brain. So in terms of the sophistication of the control that we can get, right now I think it's much better. The level of control we can get is much better when we record from the brain than when we record from the periphery.
Jan learnt quickly. Within days she could move her arm up and down and across. And within weeks she could pick up and move things around. Pick up a ball, stack cones, lift food. And there was something very particular she wanted to achieve.
Before the study began, the researchers asked me what my goal was. So I said, well, if I had my goal, it would be to feed myself chocolate. So the day before Thanksgiving, I used the arm to pick up a chocolate bar, dark chocolate, of course. And I put it up to my mouth, and then I leaned forward a little and took a bite of it. And it was the best chocolate ever.
There's a clear optimism about all this research. The bionic future seems bright and shiny and beautiful. Almost anything seems possible.